Bible Smack. Alright, so today we are doing the second part of our series on the big study on baptism. Basically, last time I talked about how this was an essential principle to our religion, and there's a lot of different stuff that I kind of got to gather together, so I'm going to try to work on trying to fit it all in. But for today, we're going to focus on the mode of baptism. In other words, what is the ritual like? Some people sprinkle a little water. Some people pour. Some people immerse. And some people say you shouldn't do anything. Okay, let the Spirit baptize them and all that stuff. Alright, so let me go ahead and give you some as why I believe that the Bible does clearly teach that it is by immersion. Mark chapter 1. Mark chapter 1, verse 5, it says, "And there went out unto him all the land of Judea, and they of Jerusalem, and were all baptized of him," that's John the Baptist, "and were all baptized of him in the river Jordan, confessing their sins." So he would go and baptize them in the river Jordan. Verse 10. And this is talking about Jesus of Nazareth in verse 9, but I'm skipping verse 10. "And straightway coming out of the water," they were baptized in, "and straightway coming out of the water, he saw the heavens open, and the Spirit like a dove descending upon him." Okay, that was the Holy Spirit anointing him. And this was to fulfill all righteousness, which I'll talk about in a later episode. So basically from there, I would say it's probably immersion. Okay, we know that's not as strong a text, but it's kind of leaning that way. Acts chapter 8, verse 36 through 38, 39. Okay, let's see here. One more page. Alright, Acts 8, starting at verse 36. And this is talking about Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. "And as they went on their way, they came unto a certain water. And the eunuch said, See, here is water. What doth hinder me to be baptized? And Philip said, If thou believest with all thine heart, thou mayest. And he answered and said, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God." Verse 38. "And he commanded the chariot to stand still, and they went down." Alright, where is it again? They went down both into the water. So they went down in the water, both Philip and the eunuch, and he baptized them. Okay, so he's baptizing them at the point that they're down in the water. Alright, it says and. It's almost like saying next. Alright, so they go in the water, baptized. Next. And then, let's see here, verse 39. "And when they were come out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord caught away Philip, that the eunuch saw him no more. And he went on his way rejoicing." So there we go. We go down, baptize, out. Baptism, by the way, is a transliteration of the word immerse. Now, some people argue that there might be a verse here or there that might not mean immerse. So I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt, but generally, that's really what it is. There was an archaeologist found an ancient Greek cookbook. And in the ancient Greek cookbook, the chef, this Greek chef, is giving his recipe for a pickle. And he says to baptize it in vinegar. And what is that? Well, we put the pickles in the pickle jar. We immerse it. Okay. So, let's move on. Romans chapter 6, verses 3 and 4. Okay, Romans chapter 6, starting verse 3. "Know ye not that so many of us as were baptized into Jesus Christ, were baptized into his death. Therefore, we are buried. Okay? We are buried with him by baptism into death. And when you bury somebody, you cover them all up, right? Okay? Into death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead to the glory of the Father, even so also should walk. Even so we also should walk in newness of life. All right. Now, and okay, I'll go ahead in the next verse. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection. Okay, and let's compare that also when we talk about the cross and the burial and the resurrection. Let me hit you an important point in the letter of Ephesians, chapter 4. All right, starting at verse 9 and 10. And it says, now that he ascended, what is it but that he also descended first into the lower parts of the earth? He that descended is also that ascendeth up far above all the heavens, that he might fill all things. So the point of the gospel, the death, burial, and resurrection, the burial goes straight down to the lower parts of the earth, up into the heavens. Okay, so there we go, down, up. All right, and now that we have that mixed in with our symbols from Romans 6, it seems obvious that the immersion is down, up. Okay, now 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 1 and 2. Now this one can be confusing, but you have to use critical thinking. A lot of times when you're in school, you're taught to memorize information, but not to think critically about it. Okay? This is where people get mixed up, and this is how indoctrination happens. They tell you something, oh, I got to memorize it and repeat it back. You say, well, this is not what I was taught, but you're not thinking critically. Okay? 1 Corinthians 10, 1 and 2. Moreover, brethren, I would not that you should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. Now this is where we'd say, hold on, baptized in the cloud? I thought you immerse in the water. Well, this is they were immersed in the sense they're under the cloud, probably through the clouds and fog, and they went through the sea. Okay, they went through the bottom of the seabed, okay, because the water had shot up. So they were totally immersed, and they were surrounded by the sea, and they were totally immersed in the cloud. Okay. Otherwise, then it's baptized on them. Okay. It would have said that. It would have said, let's see, here's what it does say. And we're all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. Whereas it would be that the baptism would have been upon them because it would have sprinkled them. Okay. But it doesn't say that. 1 Peter chapter 3. Yeah. Peter 3. Alright, starting at verse 18. For Christ also hath once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put unto death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit, by which he also went and preached unto the spirits in prison, which sometimes were disobedient, which once the long suffering of God waited in the days of Noah while the ark was preparing, where few, as 8 souls, were saved in the water. The like figure whereunto baptism does also now save us, not the putting away of flesh, but the answer of a good conscience to God. Now when we think of the flood, we think of immersion, okay? The whole earth was covered in the water, and that is the water of death. Okay, now we have that symbol, death, burial, resurrection. You can't get that death symbol out of sprinkling, okay? You really can't get it out of pouring, okay? So basically, that is the symbolism of the gospel, the burial and the resurrection. And that's why we do it by immersion, Okay. I don't think a person is to blame if they get sprinkled, and that's just what the church does. You blame the church on it. But this is the best way to do it, and it's the only way, in my opinion.